First of all, thank you for being a part of this. Thanks for being a part of my life and probably so many other things in so many other ways that you contribute to who I am and who I've become. But I know you and I we wanted to reconnect around this and talk about appreciation and recognition and also the impact of a book. You are the first person who is going through the journey that you are, that I know of, when it comes to these books. And so I'll let you kind of fill in the gaps and tell the story as you wish and share whatever that you choose and you don't. But basically, for anyone that's going to be listening to this, I helped put together a book for you over a year ago by now,
2023.
2023. Okay. And I remember reaching out to different people. And one of those people was Tina. And she helped me gather a lot of the other people that I wasn't able to stalk on Facebook, and approach him with a stranger message of, hey, it's a friend of Steve. I'm putting this together for him. But you have had an experience happen within your own life as it relates to her. And so just wanted to reconnect with you and kind of better understand what meaning do those words carry nowadays? Is it more special? Is it more significant? I'm assuming that it is, but I'll let you fill in that gap.
Yeah, very much so. And thank you so much for reaching out. And
Of course.
one of the gifts of my life that I'm most grateful for is this book, because it came out in 2023. And in December of 2024, after 17 and a half years together, and I did the math, 6,386 days, I got to be in love with the beautiful Tina. Unfortunately, she passed away suddenly and unexpectedly while we were traveling in the UK. So 3,000 miles from home, shattered, shaking, and all alone. She was no longer part of my life in the physical sense every day. And after I finally got back home and was starting to put all the pieces back together and handling all the processes, procedures, and everything that I had to do, which was more than I ever thought imaginable, I was looking through my office one day and I saw the book and I opened it up and I read what Tina wrote. And I literally cry tears every time I read it, because it just reminds me of the love that we had and how fleeting life can really be and how fragile it really is. Now, I'm a person, if there was a procrastinators Hall of Fame, I would be in it, unless the organizers were such procrastinators that they would just never get around to inducting me. I'd be a week late for the ceremony. But I'm so glad that you reached out to Tina and asked her to kind of spearhead that project, because it's such a blessing. And we both knew how much we loved each other. We told each other every day. I mean, ours was literally a fairy tale brought to life. And to have that page in there that I can go to every time when I'm feeling a bit down or really missing her, or if memories are starting to fade and things are going a little gray on me, I get to read that. It takes me right back to just the hardcore, head over heels love that we had for each other. We were all in. You know, you hear so many people talk about 50-50 in their relationships. We were 100-100 from day one. And we were still 100-100, having one of the most deeply meaningful, loving, caring, hand-holding, authentic and vulnerable conversations of our life 12 hours before she passed away. And I feel all that when I look back through the pages of this book. And I always start with hers.
What do you think made yours special? What was the connection between you guys that was, as you describe it, what it was?
Yeah, we went to high school together. And I kind of had a crush on her in high school, but I never asked her out. We graduated in June of 1986. And we didn't see each other or speak to each other for 21 years. During that time, we both got married, both got divorced. I'd been through a radio career, and my life basically fell apart in the early 2000s, caused by me, by decisions I made due to burnout, frustration, things like that. And I spent a couple of years really working on myself and learned about visualization, which I now teach. because of all the amazing success I've created with it. And one of the biggest things was I just want to fall in love one more time in my life. And I spent several years working on myself to become the best version of me that I felt I needed to be to find that true love. And in January of '07, I built that year's vision board and I said, this is going to be the year. In early June '07, I wrote in my journal, I am ready to fall in love, declaring it in my own heart and soul and telling the universe, okay, get your finger off that pause button. I am ready to fall in love. And on June 16th of '07, got an email from someone named Tina. And the next day when I remembered to go back and open it, because I almost deleted it, thought it was spam, I realized it was Tina from high school.
That's wild.
And reached out to her, and a month later, she admitted first, I got to give her credit, that she loved me. And I told her I loved her too. And she had spent the previous several years working on herself as well. And when the time was right, the time was right. All it took was that one email.
Wow.
Yep.
How do you understand that? Because there's so many different things that you talk about that I've been curious about. The first is literally moments like that where you feel a connection, you have this knowing, understanding that there's something there, something greater than your physical existence that kind of makes these things possible. And then with time and alignment, these things happen. Do you feel that in your set of circumstances, connecting with her, was it truly a meant to be moment? Like at a certain point of time, it was going to happen regardless of what each one of you tries? Or is there something else at play that you've been able to understand through your experience that made that possible?
I believe it was meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I also believe there's a lot of people who have moments around them that are meant to be, but they're staring at their phone, they're staring at their shoes, they're walking through life, not paying attention. So their senses are shut down.
Mm.
They don't see things that are there. They don't hear opportunities that are there. They don't feel or sense something that's right there. Or as something that's literally plagued me my entire life, self-doubt says, yeah, I'm not worthy of that.
Yeah.
And I've
Been
dealt with
there.
that my entire life. I'm 57 years old at the time of this broadcast. And
Mm-hmm.
imposter syndrome, self-doubt, bad self-talk, which I no longer have, but I used to.
Mm-hmm.
That was the time when I had done the work and I told myself, I'm ready. And it was almost like a veil got lifted and the fog or the clouds drifted off. And all of a sudden I could see the sun and see all the potential around me and actually feel like I deserved it.
Mm.
That's another thing that has shut me down, caused me pain, caused me to miss opportunities over the year. Yeah, that could be really good. Yeah, I don't think I deserve that.
Yeah.
And that has self-sabotage. I raised that to an art form during some years of my life. But now the flip side of that is I get to see what can happen when you look at yourself in the mirror and say, I love you and you're worthy of this. And you're an in-demand speaker and you have a message and you're the only one who can deliver it and you're worthy of everything that happens in your life. So go get some more. Let's go do this. And I don't mean material things. I mean
Mm-hmm.
the deep, and I'm a very emotional person. I am an empath. I've been told that I'm a light bringer, a light source, all of these things. And so now I use all those things to my advantage. Not in a fake way, but just to be the best version of myself I can be, because everywhere I go now and every conversation I have, my number one mission is to leave a trail of plus signs behind me.
Mm.
Passion, of potential, of helping other people believe in themselves. Gosh, just yesterday I was at the grocery store and I saw this woman, I'd say probably in her mid 60s or so. She was about to stand on top of the lower shelf with a pen in her hand to knock down a cereal box off the top shelf. Now I'm 6'2", and I've never met this woman before. And I'm walking past her. I said, "Excuse me, would you like me to reach that for you?" And she turned around and looked up at me, and I said, "Happy to reach it for you." And just did. And we just had this laugh in this moment. I don't know what her day was like. I know what mine was like. It was a tough, frustrating day.
Mhm.
But in that moment, she was worthy of receiving help. I was worthy of sharing it.
Mm.
So that's how I like to go through life now. And in the pages of this book, from all the different people, some of whom are family, some are friends, some I've just met once, some are hosts of a podcast I was on
Yeah.
once. And they all said that the time we spent together was a positive memory for them. So that's my mission in this world. So I
Mm.
was ready to fall in love, but now I'm ready to leave a plus sign behind me every single
Mm.
day.
I've never asked you this, but two things. In all my years of knowing you, I've always felt this from you, and it's based on how you show up every time we have a conversation, how you show up on social media, which are really the only two avenues that I have an opportunity to see
So
you.
far, we
So
will meet.
far, we
We
will
will meet,
meet one
brother.
person, but I felt this positive energy and upbeat, and no matter how difficult something might be in your life, it seems that you're always finding ways to turn it around, to look at it through the lens of, okay, this is happening, but what am I here to learn? This is what it's teaching me. Have you always been like this? Or did you have to shift things within your own life at a certain point that, hey, I don't enjoy this version of myself. Let me flip the script around. Has this always
I
been something like
believe,
this since you were a
yeah,
kid?
I've always had the potential for it. Now,
Okay.
have I occasionally just listened to all the negativity around me and gotten caught up in it and gone off the rails a little bit? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But generally, yes, that is me. And I love being that way. And one of the stories that I share on stage is how I got into speaking and stand-up comedy on the same day in August of 2003. Basically, I hit a $3 bucket of golf balls at a driving range in a thunderstorm, barefoot in the wet grass under power lines, daring the lightning to hit me, which is all true.
That's one way to start it.
It is. But what happened at the end of that hour is what triggered it for me. I mean, I hit my bucket and the buckets of two guys who ran from the storm and never came back. So I
Mm,
thought, hey, they're paid for. I'm just going to keep hitting and getting frustrations out. It was basically me an exercise in exercising some self-loathing and just anger at myself for all the things I'd done to put my life in a really dark place right then.
mhm,
And when I finished and I went out to my car, the rain stopped, and all of a sudden, the first couple of cracks of light came through the dark clouds. You know how after a storm, you get those little rays of light that pop through.
yeah.
And I looked up and saw a couple of those coming through, and I thought, you know, that's probably a better thing to look for than more dark clouds because there's always going to be dark clouds. And it's
Mhm,
a metaphor. It was real life, but it's a metaphor that I use now. Just stop staring at the dark clouds. Find where the light's coming through.
mhm,
And that's probably a better thing to look at, a better thing to be aware of, and bathe in the light of that. So I try to be that light for other people. I never know what anybody's going through on a particular day. I just
mhm,
like to make people laugh or pay a compliment to somebody. And the funnier, the better, because it makes you memorable.
mhm.
And that's just my way. You know, bad weeks can be happening. Bad things can be happening in our country, which just seems to happen more and more often as far as the news goes.
Sure.
Here I come with my big size 12 feet flopping into somebody's day. I want to make it memorable in a positive way. I want to leave as many situations as I can better than I find them. And that's something I learned by observing one of my grandfathers. They were both very, very good people, very different in their, careers and their styles. But one of my grandfathers was just such a simple, simple man. And he just, if he had an interaction with you, he would just hope that it brought something positive to your day, or if he was able to help you in some way, that he did, and he would.
Mm,
And I just try to be like him. And usually when I leave a place, I'll look up and I go, all right, Pepe, that was for you.
mm. Mine was like that too.
Yeah.
Man, a few words, but the words that he did say, meaningful, impactful, definitely made me think differently about these things. And I think you're also very spot on as far as the dark clouds metaphor analogy. I mean, now that I think about it, the light is always there
Yeah.
and the light's always available. It's just a matter of, am I willing to find it? Am I willing to become aware of it? And then what am I willing to do with it? Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you got to be willing to move a little bit. If you're hanging
Yeah.
with all these people complaining about the dark clouds, why don't you take a walk over to where the sun's coming through? I
Yeah.
bet you're going to find someone else there that's going to be a lot more fun to hang with,
Mm-hmm.
because you'll sit there and wait for the colors of the rainbow to appear, or just bathe in the light and the warmth of it. To say, look, we're the only 2 or 3 people standing here. Look at all those people over there complaining about the dark clouds.
Mm.
We just put a little effort in. We just found this gift. And the golden light that comes through, come on, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much better than the dark clouds.
What do you think changed for you when you started to practice these aspects of gratitude? Because I know from my experience, when I started to really embody this whole, whatever the word is, practice, method, I started to experience this thing where it's almost very difficult to put into words, but so many different things started to shift. Like challenges really were no longer seen as challenges, but more so opportunities. And even within that, I started to realize that in a lot of situations, the more I was doing it, the more I didn't really even have to think about how do I turn this problem, how do I turn this challenge into an opportunity. It just naturally started to become a thing. Did you experience similar things, or have you experienced similar things within your own life? Because you've been doing this for a while. One of the
Hmm.
things that you've actually inspired me, not to take the word from your background there, but you've inspired me with the whole random acts of kindness. I remember you shared a story with me about buying groceries for somebody at a grocery store. Like, having done that myself a number of times by now, it's really fascinating to see how people react. And I think part of the reaction comes from the fact that many people are just not used to that level of generosity and kindness from someone
Hmm.
else. So, like, I've seen people break down in tears. I've seen people say, no, 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 you can't do this. You can't. And then as soon as I offer, it's like you see a completely different individual. Do you find that within your own experience, what kind of impact has gratitude ultimately had in your life? And I know you practice it daily, correct?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. For more than 14 years now, inspired by a friend of mine who I was in the
Mm-hmm.
audience one time at a small networking meeting, and this person that I knew got up and he spoke, and he bounced gratitude off the wall a different way than I'd heard it before.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about putting pen to paper on a daily basis and just writing down something from that day. And what I've been doing the last 14 plus years is I put pen to paper and I write down the date and I write the words good stuff. And then I write 1, 2, 3. And in less than a line each, I would describe my 3 favorite moments from the previous day. Now, I don't broad brush. Sometimes you ask people, what are you grateful for? They go, oh, my house, my work, and my partner.
Mm.
And you see them a month later. Go, hey, what are you grateful for? They go, I told you, my house, my work, and my partner. I'm like, okay. And they're like, I told you that a month ago. And I'm also realizing that when people do that and they say the same things over and over again, the passion and the intensity gets lower and lower. And so I developed a
Mm.
line. I tell them, I said, look, go to the store, buy a potato, carve those things in the potato, get a ink stamp, and just stamp it every day. That the same things you're grateful for. So what I do is I will pick my 3 favorite moments. Like if I say, my partner who was Tina for so many years, I would say my favorite moment that I got to share with Tina that particular day.
Mm.
Because I do these in the morning, so it's the previous day, which is a great start to a new day. Just think of the 3 great moments from the previous day. So I pick out these moments, and I honestly believe the greatest gift you can give to your future self is something that you write down today. And I don't mean in a phone or in a tablet. I mean hand on a pen, in a notebook or a journal or on a piece of paper or something. Because when you handwrite, you're using both halves of your brain, using logical and
Mm.
creative. And it can anchor the memories. And a podcast host challenged me on that one time. He said, Steve, if you're doing it even 90% of the days per year, let's just say you do it 300 days per year, that's 900 moments.
Oh, yeah.
How can you possibly create an impact? And how can you remember any of them? And I happened to have one of my old journals here in the recording studio that day. And I don't even remember why. I just know it was supposed to be there. And I opened it up and I looked at one from a few years prior and I started laughing. He goes, okay, now you got to tell me the story.
Mm.
I said, here's the line. Got Nellie home, avoided the cop. Now, No, it wouldn't mean anything to anybody else. Nellie was my dad's old plow truck. It was not inspected. It was not registered. It was not insured. It was not supposed to be on the roads. So one night, when it was very dark, we took it from my dad's house to his mechanic. And the next night, we went and brought it home. And my father said, just watch out for cops.
Mm.
So he's right behind me, so a cop can't get behind me and see that it's not registered.
Of course,
I
you're
get
going to
to
run
the
into a
first,
cop after someone
I
says
get to
that.
the rotary, and there's 4 entrances. I'm at this one. What's over here? A cop. Now, I have the right of way, but I stick my arm out and I go, go ahead, sir. He goes, hey, thanks, buddy. I'm like, you bet. And when we got home, I asked my dad, did you see the cop? He goes, no. Did he see you? I said, yeah, he waved to me. So that moment of gratitude, which now is about 13 years old.
Wow.
That's a moment I will remember and relive forever because I took the time to write it down and say I was grateful for it. It's like finding all these little, finding pennies every day and just putting them somewhere. And eventually you're rich with memories.
Mm-hmm. Reminds me of my ninth grade teacher. So my my ninth grade teacher made a rule for all of us whenever we would go into her class, and especially whenever we were assigned to write papers. She said you to never use the word thing, something, anything, but actually describe that thing. And you know what's been fascinating is ninth grade was a long time ago, but whenever I write now, it just keeps coming back to mind. So I'll write, and then the first instinct or the default would be to just put something, I heard something, I heard someone, and then something switches within the brain where her voice keeps coming back to mind, and it reinforces me to be more descriptive, reinforces me to really capture that moment. Like, who was that someone? What was that thing? What was that thing? It certainly more than anything, it was something. And I'm realizing within that how powerful that really is, not only in be able to capture that moment and preserve that memory, but to add more color to any of those things. So it's really cool that you've been able to do this as far as capture the different moments throughout your day using specific things, experiences, events, people, and then go back to it all these years later and still have almost an exact memory of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And your teacher, oh my gosh, there's an even deeper part of that that just struck me because it's very similar to the work that I do.
Mm-hmm.
When I ask people what their goals are or what's going on in their life or what's a challenge or whatever, I'll
Mm-hmm.
ask them, what does it look like? And they can usually describe it pretty well. And then I get them by saying, what does it feel like?
Yeah.
What does it sound like? What does it taste like? What does it smell like? And when you start to describe what's going on around you, what you're feeling inside you, what you're experiencing, and you start to attach all the senses to it, your sense of smell is actually the greatest, strongest sense when it comes to memory recall.
Mm.
So if you can describe and be aware of something, decades later, you could smell
Mm-hmm.
something similar. It could take you right back to that moment. So including all of the senses is something that I love to do in my vision work, in my visualization strategy work, in my coaching with people. And it's funny when I ask them, I say, well, what's your goal? Well, I want to have 2 date nights a month with my partner. Great.
Mm-hmm.
What do those smell like? And they're like, ew, what? What do you? And then I'll say, okay, what's your favorite restaurant to go to? Oh, this place here. What type of restaurant? Oh, it's a Japanese steakhouse. Ooh, okay. I said, you get the guy with the spatulas going dun, 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 and flipping shrimp tails in his hat and all that? They go, yeah, yeah, yeah. I go, what does it smell like? They go, we smell the fire when he lights up the whole hibachi with it. And,
Mm.
you know, it lights up. It gets very hot for a second. I check to make sure I still have my eyebrows good. We're all set and cooking. And I'm like, good. Where's your next date going to be? They go, hibachi. And all of a sudden, it's not just like, oh, yeah, we got to go on a date. It's, what does it look like, feel like, sound like, smell like, taste like? Creating an entire experience. that you can tap into. A lot of people say it's woo-woo,
Mm-hmm.
which to many people it is, in the way many people explain it. Dude, I'm blue collar woo. That's the way I've been described. It's very workmanlike. It's intentional work. We're not trying to cut any corners here. We're making it as real as possible. And I love to roll my sleeves up, hand you the tools, and work right there with you until you get it. And when I
Mm.
see people lighting up, coming through my camera on my screen here, when they get that, and then I hear them yell to the next room, honey, we're going to hibachi Friday night. Okay. And I know it's going to be a much different experience for them after that.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to remember it for a long time. And that's what I encourage everyone to give yourself the gift of doing that. Your teacher was dead on.
Yeah.
Don't just say something or somewhere. Come on. You don't have that little 6-pack of crayons here. You got the Crayola 64 with the sharpener so you can make it nice and finely detailed.
Yeah.
That's the gift you need to give yourself with all of this.
Why do you think that process is better than maybe some of the others? Being able to use all the different senses to describe your vision.
Well, I think too many people are just out there creating, and when they're setting their goals and resolutions, what I call the vision board starter kit.
Mm.
They just want stuff. It's not emotionally connected. And I think using the senses, you get to actually feel emotion with that. And I think that's such a gift to give to yourself. Most people, it's the flashy surface level material stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I see it every year. People say, hey, Steve, I made a vision board. All right, send it to me. Lamborghini, yacht, private jet, mansion, helicopter, big honking gold watch, and a bank vault full of piles of cash. Nothing wrong with any of those things.
Mm-hmm.
But tell me what your life is going to look like, feel like, sound like, smell like, taste like when you do achieve that thing. And even more important, who will you become on the way?
Yeah.
That to me, who you become is a big part of it. And using all of your senses to anchor every single step. And it doesn't mean that life's going to be great. And trust me, with everything I've gone through this in the past year, losing the love of my life and all the work and everything that came after that and stuff behind the scenes that's happened, that's been just as devastating, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
There are days I've got my toes gripping the very edge of a cliff, keeping me from falling off this entire mountain.
I would
And
too.
then I get a better stronghold and I look around and see what's going on. I see how I feel about it and I go, okay, I do not want to repeat this again. So let's climb, and let's climb very carefully. And let's see what I want my life to look like, feel like, sound like, smell like, taste like moving forward. Do I want to be at this level anymore? No, I do not. Climbing out of a volcano at the moment, and I do not want to fall any closer to that lava because it's gonna burn. I know what it's gonna smell like.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna smell burning, and that's not a good thing.
Mm.
I want to climb up and find those rays of the sun again, which I find a little bit more every single day.
I'm really It's a really fascinating method, technique that you're describing, and I'm curious, going back to the book, going back to the pages, going back to those words, because something that I've realized is as part of this whole experience of helping people create it at different stages of their lives, and people have done it for all kinds of occasions, birthdays, anniversaries, this, that, and the other, is that most of the time, even after creating it, unless it's the person who had received it, and even in those situations, a lot of the time, after the initial gifting, after the initial week, month, those words kind of get forgotten, right?
Mm.
And I think a lot of that, just not by a fault of anyone, but it has to do with busyness of life, all these other distractions that I think come within our day. And so I'm curious, because someone like Tina is no longer here in the physical presence, do those words hit differently? And why?
They do with Tina,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sure they will with my mom and my stepmom and my sister someday you know, if they leave,
Mm-hmm.
because what they wrote, the people who know me best, what they wrote and what they wrote from the heart resonates so much with me. And every time I read it, I think of a moment that I've shared with them that a memory just pops up.
Mhm.
And they weren't trying to be clever and they weren't trying to be whatever. They just poured their hearts right out. And a couple of people actually talked about specific memorable moments that we've shared together, which are what a gift that is to
Mhm.
relive some amazing memories with amazing people. It's kind of like when I leave testimonials for podcast hosts. I tell them right up front. I said, look, you probably have plenty of them that go, it would be like, hey, Oleg's great. Oleg is awesome. We love Oleg. Great show.
Yes.
And nothing wrong with that. But I tell every single one, I said, my goal is to create a testimonial for your show that would make your mother cry with
Mm.
pride. And so I do my best whenever I'm asked to write something or a testimonial or anything. Matter of fact, right before our conversation today, I just recorded 2 video testimonials for 2 people who've helped me immensely this year with my business.
Mm.
And I said, right before the camera went on, I said, we're going to make someone cry today because I want them to remember our relationship and
Mhm.
remember the appreciation, the gratitude, the passion, the whatever, the fire we went through together. I want you to feel that every time. And there are a bunch of people in my book who did that. And the number one is Tina, because she was not a person of many words. And so many people didn't know the real Tina like I knew her, the
Mm.
vulnerabilities and all this and that. That came through to me in what she wrote. And that means the world to me.
Mhm.
She wrote straight from her heart. And she used to tell me, because I was the one, I left notes of her every other day. I left her a note. And I found a ton
I
of them
remember you were telling me that.
after she passed away. She kept them all in a folder.
Really?
And she used to look at me funny after I left her some more notes, and she'd go, "You realize you're the chick in this relationship, right?" And I go, "Yeah." So she goes, "Okay, I just, it's not bad." And she goes, "You remember every anniversary and every date and everything." She goes, "Oh my God, I love that. I'm just not wired that way." I said, "Doesn't matter. I don't care," because she knew my love language and I knew hers, and we both spoke them fluently.
Mm.
And that's all that mattered. And in what she shared in the book, I mean, it makes me cry so much because it is 100% the essence of Tina. She captured it.
Mhm.
She used to let Hallmark do the talking, which was great because she always picked the most amazing cards. But what she wrote there, and what I since discovered in an old, old hard drive that I had not looked in years, the summer we fell in love, June of '07, we reconnected. She sent an email. She was 1,350 miles away at that point, living in Florida. A month later, she admitted, and then I agreed, we were in love. We did not see each other face to face for another month after that.
That's even more wild to me.
Yeah. And she wouldn't send me a picture of her. I fell in love with Tina from a memory and from the energy traveling between us, the openness, the honesty, the vulnerability, the authenticity. For 2 months before I saw her, she did not have a social media footprint. I could Google Tina. There would be no pictures anywhere in the world.
Wow.
And we traded emails every day, sometimes twice a day. And I found that I had copied a bunch of them to Word docs. We
Hmm.
knew even then we were going to spend the rest of our lives together. I wish her life had lasted longer, but we knew even then this was the relationship that we had both dreamed of and worked on ourselves to find.
Gamlin, that's fascinating. I have no other words to describe it. The fact that you had no way to really see who the other person was. And how many years have passed? Like
21.
21 years. That's a long time.
Yeah.
That's a lot of potential transformation that a person can go through physically.
Yeah.
In 1 year, I've seen it with myself, I've seen it with my friends. Your body, your face, everything could change drastically from who you are, and not to mention 21 years. And the fact that you're still there was still some sort of connection beyond that, and you were willing to take a chance, and then the rest is history. That is a really fascinating story.
Yeah. Yeah. And we just looked at each other and we just knew. I knew the minute we saw each other at the airport.
Wow.
Because I was out of breath because I was, getting there at the last possible second. Sprinting across the jetway between the parking garage and the terminals, flying down the escalator at 3 times the speed it was moving, and trying to look cool, walking up to her going, catching my breath. And she was just absolutely stunningly beautiful. Naturally, stunningly beautiful.
Wow.
Just like she had been when we were 18 years old. And at this point, we were 39 when we reconnected. And I just knew. And it's funny, I found my journals from back then, summer of 2024. And going into that weekend, I was saying, this is the weekend I get to see Tina. She's going to be beautiful. She's going to be sweet. She's going to be loving. She's going to be caring. She's going to be positive. And then my entry at the end of the weekend, after she flew back to Florida, I wrote an entry and I said, I got everything I asked for.
Wow.
And I cut those pages out and I put them in a card I gave her on August 17th of 2024, a few months before she died, which is our 3rd anniversary. We have June 16th, July 21st, August 17th. Those are our 3 anniversaries. And I gave them to her. I gave her the actual original pages from my journals so that she could see how I actually felt that day. And I'm so glad I did, because I found them all in that card in a folder in her office drawer. So I knew that she had seen them and kept them.
What a gift.
Yeah.
What a gift you've given to yourself. What a gift you've given to her, to the two of you. I know many people who do not or have not had opportunities to express things like that to one another. And I mean, for me, that's the only driving mission behind all of this, is to be able to add a different twist to recognition and appreciation. I think it's such a driving force within our lives. I think it's a need. I don't think it's really even a desire. I genuinely believe it's a need, a human need for all of us to feel that. Because if you think about it, you experience this with your clients, you've seen it in work, you've seen it in personal life. When someone feels those things, when someone feels recognized and appreciated for who they really are and the contribution they bring to this world, the sky is the limit.
Yeah.
I mean, I really think that's one of the biggest things you can do to help another person tap into their full potential, is to make them feel that. Once you feel that, then truly no obstacle, I believe, ever feels that great.
Yeah, I agree. And to stay in that place with people of just such an authentic and genuine, trusting, loving, caring, we had each other's back. It wasn't 50-50, it was 100-100 the whole way through. And even the night before she passed, we landed in London on early Sunday morning on December 8th. That night, she wanted to go down to the hotel bar and have a drink. And so we went down. She had my back big time because I have not had alcohol in now 4.5 years. She saw my cranberry and soda come across the bar and she goes, "Babe, I think he put vodka in that. I think he misunderstood the order, so don't drink it." And then she asked me, said, "Oh, yes, that's what you said." She goes, "Oh, no. Here's what I meant by it." So he went to take it back and she goes, "Hang on." And she grabs it and slides it down behind her drink. Like, it's a mistake, but I'll still have it. She would. And we just had this amazing, vulnerable conversation. I was struggling. I was at a low point emotionally, and business has been very difficult the past few years with everything that's gone on. And I just said, "Babe, I feel bad. I wasn't able to really help out with this trip." And she looked at me and she said, "We're a team." And then she said, "Do you remember when I first moved from Florida up to Vermont, her company
Yeah.
had created a job for her so she could be in New England with me at least." And she was struggling, and she said, "Every month you would drive all the way up, or every couple of weeks, you would drive all the way up there just to make sure I was okay, and so I wasn't alone, and you used to help me with my bills and all that. Do you remember that?" I said, "No." He goes, "You did. We're a team." And then she got very vulnerable with me, and she said, "I just feel lucky for everything we have.
Mhm.
Just feel lucky that I have this job that I have." And then it was my turn to pick her up. I said, "Babe, do you realize you would not have this job working at the corporate level of her company? We would not have this beautiful home. We would not have 17 and a half years of the most amazing relationship either of us have ever had if you had never had the guts to send that email."
Mm.
I said, "So please don't feel unworthy because none of this would have happened if you didn't send that email. And
Mhm.
then if I didn't finally open it and not throw it out as spam." So, and 12 hours later, she passed away. Her heart literally stopped beating in my arms as a hotel employee and I were trying to revive her while the EMTs were on their way to the hotel.
Mm.
It was the greatest farewell conversation I could have imagined.
Mhm.
And I'm so thankful and grateful. One of the things I'm grateful for, and people said, "Steve, the love of your life died. How could you be grateful for anything?" I said, it's very simple. I'm grateful that she still had a pulse when I found her, and she passed in my arms with me telling her that I loved her.
Mhm.
That's something to be grateful for.
It's almost as if she knew it was gonna happen. I think you might have even shared that with me one time.
Yeah. Yeah. She'd been struggling with some health issues and menopause side effects and everything. It really hit her hard. And I believe that she knew, but she never let on because she didn't want to be a burden. So for her to go that quickly, I tell people, she went out exactly the way she wanted to. I can't be mad at her or God or anybody for that.
Yeah.
She went out on her terms, but she waited until right before I came in the room from downstairs at the hotel gym. I can't be mad about that.
No?
If I was, it would be being selfish, and that's not a good quality that I try to aim
Yeah.
for.
I think that's also from speaking from my experience, it's definitely been a journey for me to let go of different
Yeah.
people when they're in the final moments because there's a deep part of me, especially depending on my connection with them. If it's a deep and close connection, it's a deep part of me that wants them to stay, right?
Yeah.
To continue living, to continue creating more memories. But the reality of the matter is, you can't really control that part. You can maybe influence it in different ways, but you can't control when your time is up. Your time is up when your time is up. And for some people, it's sooner than it is for some of the others. And it's just one of those ongoing mysteries of life, right?
Yeah.
You don't know when it's going to happen to you or how it's going to happen or who's going to be there, what's going to be said, what's not going to be said. I think that the fact that you were able to experience that is a huge gift. And I'm glad that you look at it that way as well. And
Yeah.
hopefully a memory I can live with you for as long as you live.
Yeah. That one's going to be with me for a long time. I don't even have to close my eyes, and I'm right back there. And another gratitude from that day is the manager of the hotel and every staff member. We're only supposed to be there for 6 days.
Hmm.
I was stuck there for 2.5 weeks,
I remember that.
and they needed to accommodate. I shouldn't say they needed to. I needed to be accommodated for that much time.
Hmm.
And they treated me like royalty. Matter of fact, every month on the anniversary, I send a WhatsApp message to the general manager of the hotel, and I thank her again,
Oh, really?
and just say, "Hey, I can't believe it's been 9 months." Was the most recent. I said, "I want to thank you again for all inviting me, essentially caring for me as though I was family.
Mm.
And one of the gratitude things for that was when I get home from England, about a month after I get home, and I was coming out of shock, and I reached out to Hilton Corporate, and I recommended the young lady who came up and helped me try to revive Tina for an award. I said, "I don't know if you have a hero award, but if you don't, I know what you could name it." And I had to give all of our information as far as the reservation number, the room number, the date, the time, everything. And Hilton Corporate gave that young lady an award of
No way.
appreciation.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. And the general manager of the hotel reached out to me and asked, "Would you consider writing up a little something?" I said, "How about if I record a video?"
Mm.
And I got to. And I don't know how many times I had to do a second take, a third take, a fourth take, a fifth take because I was crying in the middle of it. But I feel very grateful that I got to be a part of helping somebody get the recognition she deserved for the effort she made at the absolute worst moment of my life. She was there for me
Mm.
and Tina and did her best. There was nothing that could be done. The EMTs told me that. There was nothing we could have done. But she was there.
Wow, man.
So
What a
she's an
journey.
angel to me. I hugged her in the lobby of the hotel. I believe it was a day or two before I finally got to come back to America.
Hmm.
And we just sat there and cried on each other in the lobby. And I said, "I'm so sorry you have to go back to work now." And I just cried all over you. And yeah, that'll be with me forever.
And who knows what
Gratitude.
that connection might transpire into, right? Like,
Yeah,
I think people come into your life for, I think the phrase of season, reason, and lifetime, I believe it to be true because I look at a lot of the people in my own life and I can fit them into
yeah,
different categories.
yeah,
Who knows the role that person played and will continue to play in
yeah,
your life?
yeah, 100%.
And the fact that they were there, able to share and create this moment with you, it's priceless. I mean,
Yeah.
no money can buy that.
No, no. I mean, and look at us. We've known each other now for what, 7, 8 years
Has it
through a
been that long?
recommendation. I believe so.
Really?
From I believe it was from Brian K. Wright initially,
Yep.
who is the founder of Success Profiles Radio and Ultimate Achievers Magazine.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Hey, I think you two should get to have a conversation." And we've been brothers ever since. We're one of the lifetime ones, by the way. As if there was any as if there was any doubt. We are
I didn't know it's
lifetime.
been that many years.
I think
It
so.
certainly felt like it. It felt
Yeah.
like even longer.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
I
let's
tell
keep
people
that.
all the time, I said, Dude, you're stuck with me." I'm like lint. Good luck getting rid of me now."
I definitely feel like that. I feel like that between us. I feel like that between a couple other people that I've met. It's been fascinating to me about this whole journey is that there's so many different people that I've met through the virtual world, which if there's anything, that's got to be something to be grateful for because it wasn't a thing 50, 70, 100 years ago. And
Yeah.
I look at a lot of these relationships that I have with you. I was just talking to another person, another good friend of mine, Nancy John, that I connected with also a number of years ago, and Scott Mason, someone you know, and so many others
Yes.
that I've maintained touch with over the years. And what's been really fascinating to me is that most of those people I haven't met in person yet.
Hmm.
And yet we continue to stay a part of each other's lives. And that to me, it shows many things. It shows the fact that I think we care for one another, well being, and we're willing and wanting to be part of each other's lives.
Hmm.
But it's still kind of mind blowing to me that here I am connected to someone like you for that many years. And yet we still haven't met each other in person, which seems like that would be a huge thing, right? That contributes towards a connection. Whether or not you maintain contact with that individual
Mhm.
is if you met them in person, if you were able to do whatever. And then, yet, with some people, you haven't had opportunities to do that just yet, and you're still able to maintain a relatively deep level of connection with that person. It's just mind blowing to me how that's even possible.
Yeah. And it's really funny too, because
Yeah.
we have this level of depth of relationship. And I'm gonna just say Brian K. Wright as an example. Brian and I knew each other for over 10 years before we actually saw each other in person. And
Wow.
we're both flying to an event down in the Dallas area. And we arrived there, we saw each other at the hotel, and we just looked at each other and went, "Hey." It wasn't like in the movies where you run to each other going, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe," we I love the guy, love him like
Yeah.
a brother. So when we finally saw each other, it was just like, "Hey, you wanna grab a sandwich?" "Okay." And we're already at that level and, right there, like you and I, when we eventually do meet,
Yeah.
it's gonna be like, "Oleg, Steve, hey," I'll probably hug you because 'cause I'm a huggy guy, and then we'll carry on like any other conversation.
Yeah.
My sister and I have that relationship. She lives down in the Dallas area. We see each other well, we saw each other a lot this past year because she actually flew to London to be with me, and support me through all that.
Mm.
But usually it's maybe 3 times a year, and she'll land at the airport, get her rental car, come to the house, and I'll open the door, and she'll come in, and we'll go, "So like I was saying," and we pick right back up, and that's the beauty of it. Oh my gosh, if you can have relationships like that in your life, you are so gifted, which
Mm.
means you have done the work. Don't expect the rest of the world to do this,
Mhm.
and don't expect that the rest of the world is just like you because it's not. And the greatest example I got of this shortly after Tina passed when I posted online and said 6,386 days. That's how many days I got to be in love with this woman and how many days she got to be in love with me
Mm.
because we did the work every day. Every day. And a gentleman reached out to me in a DM. He said, "Hey, Steve, I'm so sorry that you lost your Tina." Because I always called her my Tina.
Mhm.
He said, "I'm so sorry that you lost your Tina. I can't even imagine that. But I wanted to tell you that what you two were blessed to have for 6,386 days, I've never felt for one."
Mm.
And
Sad.
that, what a reminder
Mhm.
of the blessing that I had. Not only having Tina in my life, but that we made that effort every day fearlessly to put ourselves out there so authentically and vulnerably every day to say, "I love you,"
Mhm.
and to show each other and how much of a gift that is because so many people in this life, especially the way the world is going these days, where a lot of it is about the image, it's about this and that, it's all about social media clout and TikTok, and it's people trying to put their best life inside of 30 seconds to show the
In a
rest of the world
box.
that they got their stuff
Mhm.
together and that they're loved and they're successful and they're happy and all this and that. Most of it's facade. For Tina and I, it was real. And this guy said, "I've never had one day of what you had over 6,000 days of. And I
Mhm.
just wanted you to know so you realize how blessed you are."
Well, also think about how many different people, I'm sure within your own life, certainly true within mine, that you know of, who don't take the time to invest into relationships, right?
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of it. I was like that once upon a time, and then I started to develop a different level of appreciation for people and actually take action towards staying in touch, setting reminders, disrupting my default behavior of thinking, oh, we'll reconnect whenever,
Yeah.
because whenever is a long time, right? You might reconnect
Mhm.
with them 5 years down the road, and in 5 years, things can change. Things can change in a day, things can
Yeah.
change in a week. And so the connection that you had with that person back then might not exist in the same way in 5 years. And I try to really share this with a lot of people that I know within my immediate circle is that whatever frequency you feel comfortable with in staying in touch with somebody, do it. Find a way to make that work. Set a reminder every week, every month, every whatever timeline to touch base with these people. Text, phone call, show up at their door, whatever. But I
Yeah.
really do believe those are the things that make a difference in preserving a lot of these connections that a person has in their life. It certainly has in mine. And I think that Not choosing to do that leaves it for possible neglect and leaves it for possible no connection over time. And
Yeah.
that to me it's unfortunate. But you're
Yeah.
absolutely spot on. It's effort. It's
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
It's
One of
enjoyable
my
work. It's things
yeah.
that I'm happy about, but
Yep.
it is work. You have to do those things from both sides of the party in order to be able to sustain connections.
Yeah. Yeah, and one of my favorite things to do is because I hop on social media when I get to my desk in the morning and put up my
Yeah.
daily post and check the birthdays. And if it's somebody that I've got a decent relationship with or haven't talked in a while, I'll grab my phone. And now, if I'm fresh out of a workout with rooster hair and looking like a mess, I don't get on camera. But I'll hit the microphone and I'll say, like, "Hey, Oleg, just happened to hop into my office and saw that today's your birthday. So I hope your day's off to a rockin' start.
Mm,
And I'll catch up with you later." And I do that almost every single time. Somebody will message back and say, "Oh my God, how did you know I needed that today?" It's not just birthdays, but sometimes I'll do it. I'll be thinking
sure.
of somebody. Um, my dear friend Regina, who's actually one of the people who contributed in the
Mhm.
book, just one of the most amazing things she wrote. We're like brother and sister, and over 20 plus years now. Just before this conversation, she's been going through some stuff. She broke a toe last week, and she does Spartan
Mm.
races, so she had to miss a race because she broke her toe.
Yeah, this woman is incredible. Obviously, for anyone that's going to be listening, they're not going
Yeah.
to know the context, but she's in her six,
Early
50s,
60s.
early 60s,
Early 60s,
and
very
she's
early
still
60s,
doing these competitive races. That's fascinating.
yeah. She just started like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
She literally did. And so she kinda had that letdown this week as she broke her toe and she was in a lot of pain. So today, right before this conversation, I typed, "Hey, Regina," and then I put dot, 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 about 8 lines, and then I just typed in, I go, "That's all I got." And I did another 8 lines of dots, and I go, "I really should have thought this through." And then I put a GIF of, was it Elmo from Sesame Street doing the, "Oh, well," with his arms throwing his arms up and tilting his head, and she typed back not a minute later, LMAO. She said, "Oh my gosh." She goes, "I needed that laugh so bad today. Thank you." What did it take me? 20 seconds of
That's
typing.
it.
That made her day.
Mm,
Silly moments like that. We never know what other people are going through, and you wanna be magnetic, and you wanna be a light source, a difference maker, a connector, a whatever.
mhm.
Do stuff like that. Be aware of opportunities around you, even the littlest things. And, we talk acts of kindness. One of my favorites is still shopping cart rodeo at the grocery store. If you see a cart abandoned, go get it without being judgmental or negative about someone was so lazy and left it there. If you see somebody putting their last bag into their car, offer to bring the carriage back for them.
Mm.
I hit the grocery store 3, 4 times a week now because some nights I need human connection, so I just go do little trips. Every time I get there and get out of my truck, I look around and the Mission Impossible theme is in
Yeah.
my head. I'm going dun 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 dun, looking for a cart, looking for somebody, and I go, "Target acquired," and I'll go over, "Excuse me, would you like me to return that for you?" And one guy a couple of weeks ago, he goes, "No, I think I got it." From 40 feet out, he gives that carriage a shove, and it's doing an arcing turn. And just before it was gonna hit the pole at the edge of the carriage corral, I just gave it a fist bump and got it just inside, and it went all the way to the back, and I looked at the guy, I'm like, "Touchdown," like
Yeah.
that. He's laughing, I'm laughing, he goes, "Hey, thanks for the assist." I'm like, "Hey, you folks have a great day." And his wife was there, she's laughing too, like, "Oh my god, look at these 2 big kids playing with
Yeah.
a shopping cart and gravity." That was over a month ago, and here I am sharing it with you now.
Mm.
And I'm going groceries tonight, so I'm gonna look for retreat. Friday night, I always tell people, I go to Ocean State Job Lots and Aldi because they have very good prices on canned goods for our family's nonprofit, so I go for good deals every week to restock the shelves. And, people go, "Why do you do groceries and nonprofit stuff every Friday night?" I go, "'Cause I'm single now. I have a cat that won't let me pet him, and I'm electric. So that's my excitement for the night. And then they laugh and they go, huh, yeah, I should go do that. And
That's hysterical.
it's whatever you're doing, just make it look like it's fun to do. And it will be
Mm.
in some way.
Speaking of work, tell everyone who's not gonna know outside of me, what is it you're doing? What do you have coming up? Because I know you're revamping a lot of the work, the programming.
Yeah.
For anyone that might be listening, what type of opportunities you looking for, just in case they can connect you with those?
Yeah, I'm getting back out on stages. I am a keynote speaker. I've been off stages for a couple of years with the pandemic and a lot of life that's gotten in the way.
Hmm.
Um, Back to basics positivity and some storytelling and some humor, and it's a good charge pick me up. I talk about visualization. I talk about attitude, action, and traction being the basic building blocks. I've had a program out for a while now called Vision Board Mastery, which is being rebranded and re-recorded as Ultimate Life Vision. And it's not about how to build a vision board. It's about you are here, you want to be here. I hold your hand the whole way through to get there. And I'm also going to be, I've already talked to my agent about this. Matter of fact, I called her from London and said, when I am emotionally ready and capable to do this, I need you to get me on stage at grief conferences so that I can help the people in the back row who
Mm,
are fresh in their grief, who are where I was at that time, to stay in that seat and not go make a very rash decision that could impact or end their lives in their grief.
mm,
I said, I got to be so amazing on that stage that they can't leave until they get a shred of hope and they stay.
hmm.
So those are the big things I'm working on right now.
That's awesome. Most of that can be found at.
If you go to stevegamlinspeaker.com, that is my current website. There's actually, in addition to all the other new components I've invested in this year, there's a brand new website on the way as well.